Hey, welcome back. So we have a good episode today, and it's very fitting for a new sponsor we've got on. We've got Chrome Supply Warehouse has come on board, and it's an old friend. Brett Akey owns it, and his wife Diane, and things are. It's cool to see him because he had a passion for the chrome trucks and big trucks, and so it's kind of cool to see. We caught up with him at Truck World there, and you're probably going to see a whole bunch of stuff happening because he's doing a giant opening this month. But I thought we would talk about, since it's getting into June and it's getting into times when people are starting to polish up that truck. Show season's kicking into gear here with the outdoor shows, and it's probably a cool thing to talk about. But if you haven't noticed, I'm a bona fide chrome junkie. I just love chrome trucks, and for those of you who are driving the big trucks and the ones that are really, you're taking care of it, it's a feeling that you get going down the road that most people don't understand, and I've always just loved that. And I'll tell you what happened is I was at a recent event. I was at an event for youth, for careers actually. Had nothing to do with the trucking industry, but one of the guys that were speaking, a keynote speaker here, he's now working for, I believe, the city of Hamilton, and he was saying that he wasn't talking about the chrome factor or the pride that he had there. He was talking about other people telling him that he can't do that. And it was funny because I had the same thing happen. So here's what happened. So he's talking about a story, and he was talking about shoveling snow. He was sharing a story about how he shoveled snow for the city of Hamilton. He was just starting out. He was, driving, and part of the job was to clean the sidewalks or whatever. And he was shoveling the snow, and these guys came up that were also working on the team and said, "You know what? You're making us look bad." They said that. He actually said the same words. He said, "You're making us look bad." And what they wanted to do is they wanted him to slow down. Now, the reason that came so important to me is that I had the same thing happen in my career. So I was polishing my truck. I remember it was one of my first years at a company here in Burlington. They had really nice trucks. I was given a truck that was a little older, not the big fancy Pete's or anything like that, but all their trucks looked pretty good. And I had pride in it. I've always had pride in my trucks. You can go back and see any of the older ones I've got. And so I was polishing it up, and I had a couple of the drivers come up to me and say, "You're making us look bad," word for word. I mean, it couldn't have been any weirder than that. And so and basically they were saying, "We want you to stop." They had this belief that if it's a company truck, that only the company should wash it and take care of it, and your job as a driver is to drive. Now, I disagree with that. You probably figured that out already. And if you've seen my equipment, you'll know that that's the way I work. That I don't mind putting in the effort. I like keeping it clean. I like keeping it. That's where I live. That's the way I am. I like that pride factor, and because of that, I've always gotten great equipment. So it was funny that this guy was relaying the same thing through his story, and then all of a sudden, I started this show now, and I had, if you remember, Vince Sturge, who was on our show probably back in November, around January. We had Vince on the show, and Vince was talking about how he washes his truck every night and keeps it clean, and I thought that was pretty cool, right? So now. It's a big thing. It's a way of really showing people that you have what it takes. And Vince has been nominated. We've nominated him off the podcast here as the driver of the year for the Hamilton Fleet Safety Council. They have an award every year, and we've nominated Vince because he was really impressive. He's got a good record. He's doing all the things you're supposed to do. He's being professional. And he's got all kinds of letters that were sent in from his company about this. So kudos to Vince on that. But, it really does start with you. I do safety training all the time. I talk to trucking companies all the time. And a lot of them, you can teach the guys to be safe. You can teach them to, follow the rules. You can teach them how to drive. But you can't teach them that pride factor. And that's what I call it. I call it pride factor. And that's something that's within you. People might say, "Oh yeah, I'll wash a truck," and I've seen guys who wash a truck and, well, I don't know, it's still dirty. It's still a starting point as far as I'm concerned. But when you take that extra care, that's been a way of propelling your career through through the years. People are always saying, well, how do you get promoted in the trucking industry? Well, a lot of times you get promoted in the trucking industry by getting a newer truck or a newer run or a better piece of equipment or a new challenge, whatever it might be. It's not always monetary. And people don't see the monetary side, right? Because, so someone says, okay, you're going to get a better run. And you're going, well, I'm getting paid the same as I always have. But if that run has less delays and is a way of you keeping rolling more than sitting, the client reloads you, unloads you, reloads you in the same spot, any of those kind of things are where you can make more money. It's all about minimizing delays in transportation. And so it's, those kind of things are where you actually get a raise without seeing it. People don't see it. You've got to think differently than just, I'm going to get an extra cent on that mile. You have to think about, well, they're minimizing delays. I had a run, I'll tell you, I had a run that was a steady Cleveland run. And I used to run this trip 4 times a week. Now, Cleveland from Toronto here is about 6 hours each way, if you don't get held up. So there's a place in Burlington that used to load me up. So let's say I loaded up at 4 o'clock the night before or whatever. Most guys would go home. Me, I would leave and I would go to Cleveland. And what I did is I would get across the border, go through. I wouldn't go all the way to the customer. I usually stop probably about 3/4 of the way there in Pennsylvania or something. And I would go to sleep. And I would roll into that customer first thing in the morning. And then the way it was set up is they were able to unload me. I was hauling wire steel. They were able to unload me, and they reloaded me out of the same spot. So I was in and out of there in probably about an hour. And I was able to come right back to Burlington. I was coming back to their plant in Burlington. And I was able to make it back into Burlington, unload and reload, and do the same thing again. And that's how I was able to do it. And if you look at the mileage over that week, it's the same as doing 3,000 miles somewhere else. And I was going by the house every night. And it was a really nice deal. There was no delays. They were expecting you. They were ready. You're just bringing back empty racks when you came back. So it was their stuff. You didn't have to go anywhere else. And you made really good miles. And, I wouldn't have gotten that if I hadn't been the kind of person that was on time, if it wasn't the kind of person that took care of the truck. So it's important for you to find that pride factor. And that's what we're missing these days. If you talk to any of the old drivers, one of the things they're missing is that that pride's missing out of the industry for a lot of us. It's just about getting as much money or whatever. It's not that. The pride is what kept people unique and kept it fun in the industry. The camaraderie, just doing all those type of things. So make sure that if you don't have that pride factor yet, find out what it is for you. It's different for everybody. For me, it's a clean truck. I'm not that. I love lights on a truck, but I prefer the chrome over the lights because I don't have to worry about wiring. I can keep the truck clean. Some people like the lights more. Maybe it's just about keeping the truck clean, or maybe it's just about being professional on your front. Like, what makes you professional in the eyes of your employer, in the eyes of your carrier? Is it you being on time? Have you been not being on time lately? And maybe now is a time to really step that up and see if you can do a better job at that. So those are the kind of things that you want to work on, and those are going to lead to the better runs, and usually it leads to better jobs down the road too. So let's say you come out of the seat one day and you decide, I'm not going to drive anymore, but I am going to still be involved, and you become a recruiter or safety person or something like that. And a lot of that depends on how you operate as a driver. So make sure that you're stepping up and doing those things properly. Make sure that you've got some pride factor in you so that you can have a successful career like a lot of us have. Maybe you'll be podcasting one day. All right, my friends. Hope you enjoyed that one. Hope it helped you get a little bit of pride in there. And I tell you, the top 3 things are: keep your truck clean, be on time, be professional.